Are you looking to buy a sourdough starter? I'm going to show you in this video how to make your own with just 2 simple ingredients. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Jody. Welcome to my channel where we talk about all things slow, simple, and sustainable living. So I see this question over and over in local groups, on Facebook, everywhere. Where can I buy some sourdough starter? I decided to make this video to show you just how easy it is to make your own. I have never bought sourdough starter, and I have been making my own sourdough loaves for almost 3 years now. So let's dive right in. The only thing you need is 1 sterilized glass jar. I use a pint-sized jar and it is big enough for my family of 5. You're gonna need water, flour, a measuring cup, and something to stir with. And that is it, my friends. Simple as that. Flour, water, jar, measuring. To make a sourdough starter, you're gonna take your glass jar and you're gonna mix a 1-to-1 ratio of flour and water. So 1-to-1 meaning by weight. However, I do not weigh anything that I do. I am the most folk method baker that you could possibly be. If I have to pull out a scale, I'm probably not gonna do it. So this is strictly just measured by measuring cups. But roughly speaking, a half a cup of flour equals 1/4 a cup of water, both about 4 ounces. So knowing that, we're gonna go with that. And I'm gonna scoop my flour here and level it off. This is 1/4 a cup. So I'm gonna do 2/4 for a half a cup of flour. And then in this measuring cup, I have a half a cup of water. I am going to measure it out with my dry measuring cup. I'm gonna pour in 1/4, so that's about half. That would be 1-to-1 ratio. But I have found that it usually takes a little bit more than that. So I'm just gonna stir this together and see what it looks like. It is like a dough consistency. You want it to be wetter than that. I'm just gonna eyeball it here. I'm gonna do about a half of this 1/4 cup measure. I'm gonna dump that in there. Stir. And you want it to be not lumpy, pretty smooth. So it looks like we're getting there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If it's a little wet, no big deal. If it's a little dry, add a little water. Not complicated at all. So this is about the consistency that we want. So there you have it. We have just made a sourdough starter. Okay, I just wanted to give you a close-up, but this is the consistency that you want your starter. So you see it is smooth and wet and not doughy at all. And that is what you want it to look like. Okay, so how easy was that? So what do I do when I'm done? I take the sourdough starter, I cut these little cute cloth tops for mine, and I cover it. You can put a rubber band over to secure the top if you want. And I store it in a warm, dark spot. I like to store mine on top of the fridge. You can put a little blanket around it to keep it extra warm and cozy if your house tends to run cold. Find a spot in your house that's dark and warm and let it sit for 24 hours. So now that we have started it, what do we do next? Because it's obviously not ready. How do we know when it is ready? You can put a rubber band around your jar that marks the full line of the jar and with the starter. When your starter bubbles up to double the size of your starter, so if we have 1 cup of starter in here, when it bubbles up to this point where there's 2 cups, you know that your starter is active and ready to be used. That can take anywhere from 3 to 4 days usually. And in the meantime, you're gonna feed your starter once every 24 hours to get it going and get it active. So you're gonna feed it half a cup of flour to around 1/4 a cup of water, until you see that it is doubling in size, and it will be very bubbly. You will be able to see the bubbles through the outside of the jar. You can also smell it and see if it's starting to get that sourdough, sour smell. It can take almost a week to have the strong sourdough smell and taste. The very first time your sourdough starter is active and ready to be used, it's probably still gonna have the mildest flavor. And that's okay, because the more you feed it and the more you use it, the more sour it will become. That's all you need to know. You start it, you feed it every 24 hours, and you watch it to see when it doubles in size. Around 3 to 4 days. You're ready to use it in any sourdough recipe that you can find or that you already love. There you have it, your own homemade sourdough starter. Never look to purchase a sourdough starter again, because you have all you need to do it yourself at home. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to follow along for more tips like this. If you would like the printout version, I have made a free PDF with all of the details in written form for your convenience. So you can find that link below as well. And if you don't want the PDF, save this video so that you can come back and watch it the next time you find yourself in a pinch and needing some new sourdough starter. I am definitely not a pro. I am someone who did not know anything about baking, and I have self-taught these skills in the last 3 years. It can be easy, it can be simple, and I'm happy to help if there's any more questions. Okay, I just wanted to give you a good look at what it looks like when it starts to become active and bubble. As you see, the little bubbles inside and on the outside as well. That is what you are looking for, and that's when you know it is becoming active. One other thing I forgot to mention is, as you feed it every day, if it's getting too high, you can discard what's in your jar before feeding it. So you can just pour out half and leave about this much, I would say about a cup of starter in the bottom, and just continue to feed it. If you discard and dump it out, don't put it down the sink. You will clog up your sink. Just put it in the garbage or the compost, however you discard of your food waste. So there you go, starter with bubbles. It's coming alive. I thought I was done, but then I realized that there are a few more tips that are really worth noting here. So, once you have your sourdough starter going and active, if you start seeing liquid developing on the top of your starter, that is an indication that your starter is hungry. If you start to see a black or grayish color, that is another indication that your starter is hungry. I know the first time I saw black, I thought it was mold and tossed it out, only to find out later that it was just hungry and I didn't need to throw it away. Liquid, blackish, grayish color means hungry. However, if you look and you see a orange, pink, peachish color, this is an indication that your starter has been contaminated and it is time to toss it out and start over. Okay, so now we know what to look for when it's hungry and when it's contaminated. If you are doing multiple ferments in your house, sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha, it doesn't matter what kind of ferment you're doing. If you have multiple going in your house, you need to make sure that they are as separated as you can get them, because they will cross-contaminate and you can ruin all of what you're working on if they're too close together. So keep that in mind and keep all ferments spread out and separate.